The nearly 60-year history of Star Trek, no character may have been more unfairly maligned than the next generation's Wesley Crusher. Played by a young Wil Wheaton, Wesley was once the target of fan vitriol, mocked as a Mary Sue and written off as an unearned wunderkind. But 38 years later, it's time to face the truth. The hate was misplaced, the criticism exaggerated, and the character deserves a long-overdue reevaluation. The roots of the backlash. Star Trek fans versus change. If there's one constant in Star Trek fandom, it's resistance to anything new. The franchise has a long, well-documented history of passionate fans who love it so much, they often react negatively to change. Whether that's a new format, the animated series, new tone, Deep Space Nine, or new characters, Voyager's Captain Janeway, Discovery's Michael Burnham, or, yes, Wesley Crusher. Wesley's biggest sin was being a teenage genius among seasoned Starfleet officers. Instead of celebrating a rare instance of youth representation in science fiction, many fans saw his presence as implausible or intrusive. But as with many things in Star Trek, this says more about the audience than the character. Wesley Crusher was Gene Roddenberry's vision of optimism. Wesley wasn't just another crew member. He was Gene Roddenberry's self-insert, an idealized version of his 14-year-old self. A brilliant, curious prodigy, Wesley represented youthful optimism and the belief that intellect and empathy can solve problems, core values of Star Trek itself. Though sometimes derided as a Mary Sue, the label never truly fit. Wesley didn't always succeed. He made mistakes, disobeyed orders, and even directly contributed to the death of a cadet in the episode The First Duty. He wasn't perfect, but he was real, especially to younger viewers who saw in him a rare chance to be taken seriously. Poor writing, not poor character. Some of the criticism aimed at Wesley has more to do with TNG's early growing pains than the character himself. Writers often struggled with how to write a believable teenager in a highly professional, quasi-military environment. At times, Wesley's storylines were awkward or infantilizing, such as when he plays alien dodgeball in Season 1 or fumbles through forced romances that failed to resonate. Yet in stronger episodes like The First Duty, Wesley shines as a complex, conflicted young man navigating a moral gray area. When the writing served the character well, Wheaton delivered performances full of heart, sincerity, and maturity beyond his years. Fans grew up and started seeing Wesley differently. The backlash Wesley faced has often been compared to that received by Star Wars' Jar Jar Binks, loud, exaggerated, and fueled by a fanbase that didn't understand the character wasn't for them. While adults griped about credibility, kids saw a hero who looked and thought like them, who saved the day not with brute strength, but with smarts and bravery. In retrospect, Wesley was groundbreaking. He represented a hopeful future where young people are valued for their ideas and not dismissed for their age. That message resonates even more today, in an era where youth activism and innovation shape real-world change. Why Wil Wheaton left, and why it mattered. Behind the scenes, Wil Wheaton's departure from the series reveals another layer of the show's complex relationship with his character. After being denied time off to film a career-advancing movie, Wheaton learned the promised, important episode barely featured Wesley at all. It was a breaking point, worsened by the way some fans treated him personally for simply playing the role. As Wheaton later revealed in the 50-year mission, producers feared losing him to a blossoming film career. The tension and missed opportunity left the young actor disillusioned. But despite the bitter exit, Wheaton's love for Star Trek and his TNG castmates endured. He returned for several guest appearances, including the finale and Star Trek Picard, where Wesley finally got a satisfying, redemptive cameo. More recently, Wheaton has become a central figure in Star Trek fandom again, hosting the Ready Room and serving as an ambassador for the show's legacy. Time to give Wesley Crusher the credit he's earned. So why did fans turn on Wesley? Because he dared to be different. He was young, smart, and full of earnest optimism, 3 traits that often get mocked in cynical fandoms. But that same optimism is exactly what Star Trek is about. Wesley Crusher doesn't just deserve to be forgiven, he deserves to be celebrated. He embodied the very ideal Star Trek has always stood for: curiosity, compassion, and courage. In a franchise that preaches infinite diversity and infinite combinations, we should embrace that even the awkward teenage genius on the bridge has a place among the stars.